There's just energy, there's just aliveness, there's just what's appearing to happen. When there's a sense of you being an individual, there's a lived sense that there's a you, that things are happening too. So there'd be a sense that you're sitting, listening to me speak now, that you're sitting on a chair in a building in Amsterdam, and that you maybe made a choice to come here. You decided to buy a ticket, you got in your car, you got public transport, and you've arrived. So there's a lived sense of feeling that you're moving in time and space, that you have a life and that things are really happening. And what's been illuminated today, this afternoon, is that that sense of living in the real is an energetic sense of being separate, and that in that arises a question. And the question really is, why is there life and me with my life? So everyone who feels separate is yearning and questioning, whether they are aware of it or not, or whether they would classify themselves as a seeker or not. Once you feel that lived sense that there's you and there's the world out there, there's a question then. And so logically, we feel we go through life in this linear way of knowing we're moving in time and space, and we get knowledge, we have questions and we get answers to the questions, and we seem to grow in our knowledge of ourselves and the world, and we achieve things and so on. And and we get this feedback from our people around us that's real, that you have a life and life is knowable and you can do something with your life. So when we have a sense then that there's something missing, we logically would feel that, well, if there's something missing, then I can get it, I can know it, I can have it. And there are other people who have found it. Most people would search for the thing that they're maybe looking for, would be, they think that it's maybe getting a lot of money or power or status or whatever it is. And then others feel that there's something deeper than that. It's not a material gain, that it's maybe consciousness or something to do with awareness or something that's in the inner kind of landscape of me. And so we hear all of these suggestions and teachings of what it is that you're looking for from many, many, many different people that call themselves teachers, or maybe don't call themselves teachers, but they're telling us that what we are looking for, we can work towards. And we really enjoy that then, and we like that kind of a communication, because we're used to working towards something, and we've done it since we were children. If you want to be a better guitarist, you practice more guitar, you get better at the guitar. If you want to get good at a job, you work hard at the job. And we have this lived sense of that being real. And we've a lived sense of time and space being real. So we're moving in time and space. And so we feel that there's something that we can get, because there's a sense of yearning that comes from a sense of me and there's the world, because something has been lost. Everything has been lost. Why is there little me and the world? So then we all go in our different ways and search to address this sense of yearning. And this afternoon, this is an illumination that actually what's been yearned for can never be found by you. What's been yearned for is simply already whatever is appearing to happen. Simply this, aliveness, sitting on a chair, breathing, sounds. It's already whatever is appearing to happen. It's not a thing. It's not knowing or understanding or having. It's not an experience. It's not a state. And it's already the case that there's wholeness, only wholeness. It's already the case that there's no separate you. It's simply this. And this is unconditional love. This is unknowable. It's nothing being everything. It's not graspable or knowable, and it does not need to be grasped or known. But all the while, there's a sense, a lived, energetic sense that there's a you. It's a contracted sense of being in the body. Then that's not seen. This isn't seen to be unconditional love. This is seen as it's a room in Amsterdam and I'm sitting on a chair and I'm listening to some guy. There's a lived sense of place and location and of energetically of feeling like a you. So there's nothing wrong or right with that. But this afternoon, there's this sharing from nothing. And there seems to be questions then, and there seem to be answers from here. And in that, there's an energy, because energetically, the individual comes with an energy of wanting. They want to know, they want to understand, and that's totally fine. And here, when that wanting arises and the questions arise, it's met by just boundless, unconditional love, because there's no answer to the question. So there's a discussion in which there's a question and an answer, and there can be energetically an openness, energetically, that there's something beyond the question and the answer. Or people can just stay with the question or the answer. There's nobody being asked to do or not do anything here. So it may be for some that they'll just stay with the concept of what's being asked and the knowing of there's a question and there's an answer, and that's fine. But energetically, there's something beyond that that's unknowable and ungraspable. So we'll see what appears to happen. You can't go wrong or right with questions. It doesn't actually matter. Energetically, if there's something there to be asked, it's just there to be asked. We're going to just use this. I know it's a bit of a pain, but it helps me record, and people will hear you online as well.
Why do you call it love? Unconditional love?
Can I just give you that? I'm sorry.
My question is, why do you call it unconditional love?
Well, it's
Because
just a
love
term.
seems to be a kind of criterion.
Yeah, it's just a term to point towards that which can't be spoken of or known. And when we think of love as the individual, we think of love, interpersonal love. And really, that's a meeting of needs between two people, which is fine. But it's the unconditional love. There's no word that would satisfy, actually. So every term that you would use, if you were to try to substitute unconditional love with another term, it would equally be unsatisfactory. But it's the word that's used here for the all-embracing isness of what's yearned for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
unconditional love.
If you say
for some,
that's something else.
Yeah.
If you say unconditional trousers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you see, this is an impossible communication.
Mm-hmm.
Completely, totally, and utterly impossible. I cannot describe to you this afternoon what is being yearned for at all. Nobody can at all. But energetically, when there's a sharing like this, what's being yearned for can be very, very obvious. Totally obvious. The problem really, the apparent problem is that what's yearned for is actually too ordinary and obvious and directly already what is. So using this term or not this term, like there's some people will really have a problem with that term. It's not uncommon. Unconditional love, they don't like it. And others have no issue with it. When I say that this is everything, our wholeness, our oneness, maybe if I use that word, which I don't really use that much, I mean the same as unconditional love. It's all this. I mean, that's what it's been pointed to the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's the all-embracing isness of simply aliveness without there being a sense of you being alive. That's what's been shared this afternoon, illuminated, is that sense that you have of being alive is actually just a story.
Thanks.
Thanks.
I was wondering whether you recognize something. What is happening here, I think, is that it's switching back and forth. Like I could be walking in the woods, and then suddenly the trees look flat. There's no distance in the image. And there's distance again. And it can happen in every aspect of, but the story suddenly stops.
Oh yeah, it can be.
Maybe 10 times a day switches over.
Yeah.
It's awkward in social situations because I tend to talk about it. To look at these trees, it's like
that goes down well, does it?
Can't explain it.
No. Yeah. Do people start moving away from you slowly?
Yeah. Right. So when I'm relaxed, naturally this comes up. If I'm tense, I can stop it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's no you that's bringing it up even.
Yeah.
It's just it just comes out or it doesn't, and it doesn't actually matter at all. And if it's just coming out, then there's nothing that can stop it.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Okay.
And generally, it goes down like a lead balloon. Yeah, because it doesn't go down well.
Yeah.
Generally, because it's like there really is such a sense of being an individual. It is so. It's the only gig in town, really.
Yeah.
And we're all reinforcing each other's stories that, yes, you are a person, I am a person, I have a life, you have a life. So if you start talking about not having a life,
Yeah.
it can be a little bit uncomfortable for people and unnerving.
Yeah.
But it's just what happens. In general, people, they need you to be you also for them to be them.
Yeah. It can be even amplified this sense of pointing out that there is someone in there.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening there then.
Yeah. Anything can fall away. All parts of the story can.
Yeah, totally. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
and what you described there is just energy as a sense of being. Oh, sorry, guys. Could you just keep muted, please, on the line? So there's just energy, and energy there is appearing as feeling maybe contracted or like an individual, and everything is real, and then it's not real, and then it is real, and it's not real, and that will just play out like it plays out.
Thanks.
So I just get some water.
Right. Can you say something about, you say the body is just energy bodying, right? And the me is a contraction in the body, which is also energy.
Yeah.
But it seems like the body is of a certain design. I mean, there are male and female bodies, and
Yeah,
they,
yeah.
they're all basically the same, 2 arms, 2 legs. So there's no design behind it, or there's no,
Well, there's male and female and 35 other genders too.
yeah.
let's not misspeak here now.
Yeah. But roughly.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, there's 2 legs,
so
2
all there
arms.
is energy, and
Mm.
energy appears as opposites. It appears as it's male and female, and that they appear to complement each other. But it's all just all there is energy.
Mm.
Like what's being shared this afternoon is incredibly simple and ordinary. Actually, the individual lives in complex and difficult and lives in its own knowing. So when there's a sense of being separate, there's a sense of knowing reality, let's call it. And so it feels that what's being shared here, it can know what's being shared, or it can know what it's looking for. But knowing what you're looking for is just the individual in its own loop of knowing. Actually, what's being yearned for when you feel separate is completely, totally and utterly unknowable. It's totally unknowable. It's just isness. And it actually is and it isn't, because it's nothing being everything. And it's so immediately just this, that it doesn't start or finish even. It's there and not there. Like this is everything. There's not 2 things called everything and nothing. This is everything being nothing and nothing being everything. And then that appears as a male body. Energy appears as a male body, and it appears as a female body. But then when there's a sense of being separate, if I'm in the male body, I will feel that it's my body. So I am a male, you know, and then I am, and it goes on and on endlessly. You know, my name is this, I work in that, this is this. So the whole sense is that there's a real individual there, a real me. And then it wants to know everything then, and thinks it can know what's being shared here, and thinks it can know, find what it's yearned for, what it's yearning for. And it can't.
The end of itself. What it's
Yeah, well, actually what's yearned for is your own absence, yeah. But the big joke is you're already not there.
Yeah.
You know, when we're fear of death, our fear of death is actually just our fear of our own absence. And we're already not there. So what's being yearned for is already whatever is appearing to happen. It's just very simple and ordinary.
And then, is this thing on?
Yeah, it is on.
Oh.
It's actually just for the computer. So
Okay, yeah.
I'm sorry. I know it's a bit of a pain, but
No, it's
it helps
just
me record it. Otherwise, it's
very
very hard
quiet.
to record everyone.
So I wonder, I mean, if you are really into this, which I should like, then I don't need people anymore, because I don't need to grasp. I don't need relationships. I can be on my own or something. It's just a thought. So how is that for you, or how? Because I sense most of the time, yeah, and then they say, oh, you need people, you need to talk about your stuff, which I don't like very much, and so it will end everything perhaps, or?
Yeah,
But-
it's totally indescribable. So you're asking really what it's like to not feel separate. Is that kind of my sense of what you're saying?
Yeah, something like that. And
Yeah.
if you and then I think you don't need people. You don't need because most of the time the human relationships have to do with needing and filling emptiness and kind of things.
Hmm.
And that's all gone then by then. And how are your relationships? How not especially you, but you're an example now.
Well, it's just that there is no relationship really. There's only a relationship when you feel separate because it's separate things that relate to each other. So when there's no longer a sense of self, there's just what's appearing to happen. There's just aliveness. And that could appear as friendship, or it could appear as like fathering here. Fathering is just, there's fathering happens here, but their lived sense of being a father collapses when there's no sense of being you. And what's very obvious then is fathering just appears to happen. So there's just fathering. Fathering happens. And then what happens then is that when you feel like an individual, you add yourself to fathering. So you feel that you are a father and you're doing it badly or you're doing it well or whatever. And that's the way it is.
So you are just fathering, and I mean you're.
Well, I'm not fathering. There's just fathering.
For
Yeah.
example, yeah.
Mm.
And no special people anymore.
Well, there's no special anything. No special collapses.
So, no.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
There's just aliveness, and there's just life peoples.
People.
And then it seems to be brothering, fathering, partnering, husbanding, wifing. That's what
Enemies.
happens.
Yeah.
Enemies.
Yes, that's right.
Ah, one or two. They're not in the room though. You have to have a couple of enemies, don't you? Keep it interesting. No, actually, you don't. The enemies, like when I say everything's unconditional love. That's the incredible thing is, say for instance, someone does not like you. He's enemy number one, and you fell away. That would be seen. That's actually unconditional love. It's just unconditional love. That's all it is. Someone not liking you is unconditional love. Doesn't happen here very often at all. Very rare thing actually. But everyone loves me. And Franz throws his head back. Yeah. You see, what's been talked about really is that, like, the sense of being an individual is this reality of opposites. You know, there's good and there's bad. There's special and there's not special. And all of that comes from a sense of being separate. And when you feel separate, you're pulling in the positive and the good, and you're pushing away the negative. So you have your friends, you're pulling in your friends and you're pushing away your enemies or whatever, you know, you're pulling in pleasure and you're pushing away pain. And so there's a continual sense of being an individual, of this kind of continual almost spinning of there's not just what is appearing to happen, there's a story about what is appearing to happen, and there's a kind of a fixing, it needs to be more this and it needs to be less this. And someone disliking me isn't it, and someone liking me is it. And then when there's no sense of being an individual, it's all unconditional love. Forget about it then. It's just energy. So someone disliking you is energy, or someone liking you or whatever. Or you know, pleasure is energy, and then pain is energy. So what's being spoken of really is a full-on aliveness, just full-on, indescribably full-on aliveness, but for nobody. Because really the sense of being an individual wants full-on aliveness. Oh, that sounds good. I want full-on aliveness. And that's the difficulty. It's me all the time. And actually there is no me, there is no individual. So really it's actually about loss. The whole thing is about a loss, an apparent loss. Whereas the individual feels it's about getting something, you know, a state, knowing something, an experience, whatever. You may not walk out of this room today. Possibly, I have no idea. Or you could walk out and feel more like an individual, maybe. It's just aliveness. But already there's no individuals here. There's nobody sitting in the room. It's incredible. There's however many bodies. And that's what there are. Aliveness, bodies, aliveness. This is boundlessness, energy. This is wholeness now, appearing as the walls and the window in a building in Amsterdam, so on. But this is actually everything. And that's what you are, and everything is nothing.
Yeah. How can it be nothing if there is aliveness?
Aliveness is nothing.
Yeah, to me,
See-
aliveness is everything.
Yeah, so in the mind of the individual, there's aliveness, which is something, and then nothing. There's an opposite, which is not being alive. So there's life and there's death,
Yeah.
just simply, to put it simply. And that's directly from the lived experience of feeling separate. And the suggestion being made is this is not two. There's not two. So
No,
there's not a thing called aliveness and a thing called death.
No.
There's actually one, which is this is aliveness and what we think of as death.
Mhm.
This is nothing being everything. They're not two separate things. But that's duality. For the individual, like the individual doesn't go into duality or in a state of duality. The individual is dualism. It is duality. And it's a lived sense then of there being aliveness and death.
Mhm.
Two different things.
Okay.
So this is, this is nothing being everything.
Yeah. Okay.
So there is no death and there's no life in that way that we think there is. When you feel like an individual, you actually feel that you were born, you have a life, that you are living your life, and that you will die. And it's all a story. It's just a story.
Yeah.
It's just a story. There never was a you that was born, but there's aliveness appearing as you, and the flavor of whatever the way you are. And what's obvious then is there's nobody else. So there is no separation anywhere already.
Hi, Kenneth.
Oh yeah.
I sometimes have in these meetings no clue what I want to say,
Yeah.
but I just feel that I want to speak. That's happening right now.
Sounds like
there's
me.
so much, yeah. Like you.
Well, I have no idea what I'm going to say ever. Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah, it's like just energy wants to be expressed, and I guess I don't really have a question. I just want to say hi.
Oh
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
Great to see you. No, not on Zoom, but in real life. Probably
Yeah.
we'll watch it back, so I will see you on Zoom anyway.
Yeah.
But
maybe. Yeah.
yeah, that's it, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's like this afternoon, you literally cannot go wrong. You cannot go wrong. Now, if you pick up and start throwing chairs at me, I think we have the heavies here. They're going to remove you. That's probably what's going to happen. There is a line, But I mean, it's all there is energy. There's nothing expected of anybody because there is nobody in the room even. So people can ask a question, or people can say something, or people can just not say anything.
Yeah, I wanted to
It's
say
gorgeous.
something.
It can be quite. It's very obvious. There's nothing to get. There's nowhere to get to. There's no one to get there. There's just whatever. This is just and that there's an energy. There's a boundlessness to this sharing that has nothing to do with Kenneth or anybody, and it's energetic. So that sense, it could be that sense of being a separate individual just isn't there. And what would be obvious was there never was a me.
Do you get like every meeting sort of reports from people that don't walk out of the room anymore? Like, do people reflect it back to you?
I hear from people, yeah. Yeah, you'd hear from people. But like it's nothing has happened either. Like if someone says to me that I hated your meeting, It was totally shite. And it was really boring. That's just information. That's just energy. And then the next person says, oh my God, I don't feel like an individual anymore. That's also just what's appearing to happen. There's no preference here for one or the other, because you see, you have to, there's already nobody, whether somebody thinks there's somebody or not.
Like I
So
feel
it's only it's only an apparent happening. Like the sense of being an individual falling away is only an appearance. It only apparently falls away, because that's what's being shared all afternoon. There already isn't. There's no individual already. But you do hear from people, yeah, and the amazing thing is they can't describe it. Of course, they can't describe what's trying to be described here, and they all say the same, that it's not what they thought it was. Of course it isn't, because if you have an idea of what's being shared here, it's just an idea, it's a concept. It's very ordinary.
yes.
It's just very ordinary and simple.
Like I feel like I hear the words, but not really listen to them or so.
Yeah.
It's like whatever.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, it's not really. Yeah. Oh yeah, and also yesterday I was thinking, but this is not relevant, but anything can be asked. Like, do you like football?
Not really, no.
Oh, I thought you were. Okay, because Netherlands and Ireland are playing
I know,
tonight. So
yeah.
I was like, maybe we're gonna watch it in a pub. Kenneth is gonna watch it in a pub or so. with
Yeah,
some-
with my jersey and my flag and my
Exactly. And then get beaten.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That's it, I guess. I think there was someone.
Kenneth, so this sense of self is either there or it isn't.
Yeah. Most people seem to have energetically a sense that they're an individual. And in the story, we're told from when we're very young that you have a life, it's your life, you have control over your life. So there's a sense of control and volition,
Yes.
a really strongly, and it's reinforced in the story. And then people speak to you, they speak to you as an individual. So it's rare for someone not to feel like an individual. Yeah, although I've met people who questioned it always, didn't really feel like a solid individual. It can be, but most people do, yeah. But it's energetic. It's just an appearance.
But I feel that it causes a lot of suffering.
Oh yeah, it does, yeah.
Yeah. But there's nothing I can do to get rid of myself.
No.
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 It apparently causes suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no you that's sitting there. There's just sitting body holding microphone. There never has been. And that can be seen or not. But of course, like of course the individual is going to go, well, what can I do about this? Because that's what it's used to. Okay, like any communication, someone would stand up and say something, and the sense of being separate. Okay, well, tell me what to do, like, tell me what to do, I'll do it. And that's why this is quite an unpopular communication, because there's nobody being spoken to, there's nobody being acknowledged, and it's clearly being said that there's no you who can do or not do. There's just what's appearing to happen. There's the sound of the rain, sitting on a chair, and this is everything. There's nothing that need be done, because it's ungraspable and unknowable, but it's also inescapable. It's all there is already.
Again.
Hi, Nuno.
So you say that the sense of being an individual and being a separate person, it's not real. And you also said in one of your meetings that when you are talking to the people, you are unconditional love.
Mm.
So can I say that I am unconditional love? I am energy. What I'm questioning in you is am I something or am I nothing?
Well, they're not two different things.
Okay.
See, the individual, the mind would think that there's something and there's nothing.
Okay.
And that's dualism, duality. So you are and you aren't because you're nothing appearing as that body there. So you appear as something, you appear as, we all like, there's the body and there's the, you know, skin and bones and muscle and organs and the information that flows in. And then what happens then is we have a lived sense that we are in here. There's a lived sense of being a separate me. So it's added, it's an addition then to just the body. You feel like something when you're an individual.
Yes.
Because you're in the real, like you're in a world of real. You're in a there's a real, it's living in the real, really. Like an individual, it's a subject object reality. So there's a sense of, there's not sitting on the chair, there's me and the chair. And then when you're speaking to someone, they're an object to you as well. And the tree is an object to you, and everything is because there's a sense of you being a subject and everything is an object. And then no thing can't be seen then.
There's a sense of being a center from which
A center, yeah.
yes, I
Yeah.
see everything.
And the center actually is just artificial. There's nothing there. And the invitation is always there to see there's nothing there. So it's not like you, because you're, as an individual, you're in that subject object, you think that what you're yearning for is another object. It's another thing, whether it's making a lot of money or being an important person or finding enlightenment or something. But all you can do as an individual is objectivize. And it's dissatisfying, because really it's dissatisfying because it's a half alive kind of reality. There's a sense that there's something with it that's not quite adding up. And people have that to a greater or lesser degree. For some, it's enormous. There's a sense of yearning that's just completely all in, you know, it just overtakes everything. And for some, it's just hardly even noticed. But when what's actually yearned for is not something, it's actually nothing. But nothing is only seen when it's not seen from the sense of you. And when there's no sense of you, then everything is nothing. And nothing is everything. Which is what's appearing to happen. Like this is nothing being everything. I don't mean that, none of this is some abstract idea. It's like immediately just whatever is appearing to happen.
There's no space, there's no path to it, because that's only that would be only a reinforcement of the me trying to find the
yeah, like I mean, if there was a path to it, then it would be this wouldn't be it then. There would be a thing called wholeness that you can get to.
Yes.
Like I mean, most communications and communicators are speaking to you about finding wholeness, how you can find wholeness. So, and the individual loves that then, because they're being spoken to, so they can relax. You know, I'm being told how to get from A to B again, so that's fine. How can you get to what already is? It's already just this. Sitting, holding the microphone. There's nothing that isn't it, is another way of saying it.
would you say that there's like also maybe a process, or it's not at all, like to readiness or openness or whatever?
No, there's no process. No,
Not at all.
no.
Process is individual. Yeah.
It can certainly feel like a process, like if there's a sense of you not being there, and then you're being there, and then you kind of feel like you're there, and then you feel you're not. Like this gentleman was describing, he didn't feel separate, and then he did, and it could happen 10 times a day, and it can feel like there's less of you, and that can all feel like a process almost, like. And then when there's no longer a sense of you at all, then it's just what's appearing to happen. It's seen there never was a process. Like process is in time.
Yeah, exactly.
So it has to be the individual then that's in a process. Yeah.
So and
like how could an illusion process soften itself, let's say? Like by what process would an imaginary separate self?
Yeah.
Like what would it do? So I'm an imaginary individual. I'm going to engage in a process to not be an imaginary individual. So everything I think I'm doing is going to reinforce the sense that I'm an imaginary individual.
Yeah.
Because it's reinforcing the sense that I'm really real and I can do something.
Yeah, and
through a process.
There's a path or something.
Yeah, there's a path. Like, I mean, and most communications would tell you, that's what they're telling you, basically, that there is a path to wholeness, and I've traveled it, I've seen it, and I can show you. And that's very appealing to the individual. That really, it's very seductive to think that.
And with your apparent falling away, was that suddenly or?
Well, it's always sudden because it's always just timeless. So it's not a gradual thing. But then, you know, it could be that there's just what's appearing to happen. And then some people describe that then as it could be like 1 second. It was just 1 second. There was just, everything was, it's indescribable. And then I seem to be back. Or some people describe it as it was a day or 2 days, or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But what we're talking about is eternal. So the language of time doesn't really.
Yeah, so it's also not really an event.
Oh, it's not an event at all. Like I didn't fall away. You know, because I'd have to have been real to fall away. But the sense of being a separate me isn't there anymore. And it's seen there never was a separate me. See, like as an individual, you feel there's a living in the real, in the sense that there's something really happening. Like, because you're moving in time and space. So one thing happens and another thing happens and another thing happens. So when this is shared like this, the individual is always coming from that reference point of someone speaks, well, what happened to you? Maybe it'll happen to me. And the suggestion is this is nothing appearing to happen. There's nothing actually even happening. Things happening like are only happening in time and space for you as an individual, and that's only a story actually.
And the person can't really hear that.
Oh no, I'm not speaking to any individuals here at all. It's just a sharing from nothing, and that's heard as it's heard. The individual can't hear anything I'm saying here, because the individual is just being an individual, the imaginary individual. So it's trying to get something out of this for, like, why did I come here? You know, I want something out of this talk. Maybe I want what he has, or maybe I don't, but I want to get something out of it. But then what can be quite obvious is there's nothing to get. Energetically, it can just be obvious. There's nowhere to get. There's nothing to get. There's nothing to know. And this is everything.
Yeah. Yeah, even it looks like, you know, even although if you don't say that, it looks like, yeah, can it fall away, you know, and then it's even personal then, but that's not the thing. Huh?
Oh yeah, like if you feel like an individual, you will definitely feel that any speaker, you will definitely feel that something happened to them.
Yeah.
And that sounds interesting, and I'd like to have what they have. Of course you will. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's just aliveness appearing as an individual. Doesn't matter.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
So I understand that there's also not a purpose for you anymore.
No, there's no purpose to this meeting. This is the most beautifully purposeful, meaningless meeting. It's so gorgeous because there's nowhere to get to. There's nothing to understand. It's just a sharing. That it can only be a sharing. That's all. Yeah.
And also all the things that's happened in the world, is that interesting for you?
Some of it is. It can be interesting at times, yeah. But it's just a story. It's a story. It's an appearance. So the realness collapses out of everything, and it's just a play of light. And it's like there's leaves falling from the trees there, and there's people speaking, and this is everything. It's boundless, unconditional love. And boundless, unconditional love also appears as war and pain and suffering, and that's not imaginable for the person. It's impossible for the individual because they feel that there's these things happening in the world, and they're really, really bad, and that we should really move towards them not happening, and we can have forget about it. It's beyond the mind.
Thank you.
Thanks. And the other thing that people do is like they feel that because they're in opposites, they feel like they're in opposites. They feel, oh, so these bad things, you're saying that they're love, or so the suffering and the people dying, that's love, is it? Because we move in opposites, and that's not what's being said. It's energy. It's appearing as that.
Yeah, I sometimes can feel it when I try, but
yeah,
it's a strange difference because you're saying it all happens every moment.
No, it doesn't really. It does not. It doesn't happen every moment because there are no moments.
No. So
there's no time at all.
Yes.
Because if there's a moment, then there's a then also.
Yes.
There's a future and a past as well. There's no future or past. Or there appears to be a there and a here, and a future and a past, and it feels completely real to the individual. And in that reality, then things are happening then. And they're reported to us, and some of them are great and some of them are terrible. And that's a lived reality for the individual. And when you don't feel like an individual, then it's impossible I can't describe it. It's all a play of light. There's just the appearance of whatever is appearing. And none of it has any meaning.
Yes, interesting.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can feel, and sometimes that I know what you are telling me, because there is no time.
Oh, like everyone here in the room knows exactly what I'm saying, because they are that already. Completely already know that, but maybe not in so much in an intellectual way. It doesn't matter, but overlaying that knowing of what you are is this overlay of this sense of being separate, and this really lived sense of being an individual. And then that's in a different knowing. Then you're in a knowing then, which is an abstraction from the whole, which you take to be absolutely real. Then you know what's happening here, you know what happened to you, you know what school you went to, you know what friends you had, it's all just and it all feels completely knowable. And actually it's totally unknowable, because it's just aliveness, immediately just aliveness. And any knowing is just a story.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Does it have any effect on sleep, the number of hours you sleep, and whether you dream as an individual?
I haven't seen any difference now.
Okay.
I'm a parent, so young kids, I just don't get enough.
Yeah.
No, but no, not really. Like, not. I can't kind of describe anything that's remarkable about sleep or anything. But when you're sleeping as an individual, you're not there. You die. Like we all die every night.
Yeah.
So we're all afraid of dying, and we die every night. Because in deep sleep, you're just not even there. There's just the body breathing, and then there's appearing to wake. And every morning we get kickstart the whole gig again. And energetically, there's a real sense that you woke up, that you put your pants on, so on, or whatever. And it's like it really is a lived sense of feeling separate. It really does feel like there's an out there and there's an in here. And when there's, energy pouring through the senses, so it's sensed, there's seen, there's a really felt sense that I'm seen. There's speaking, there's a sense that I'm speaking. There's sound, it's me that hears the sound. And what's being spoken of here is that there's just the immediacy of what, there's no you that's hearing. There's just sound. There's no you that sees, there's just seeing. There's no you that thinks. But when you feel like an individual, you think they're my thoughts. Well, where are you, like?
What about if people press you on that? What is your opinion? Or children do it like that? You get tired, or is it?
No, if I'm asked what my opinion is on something, is it? I know it's sometimes I could give an opinion, maybe. It doesn't matter though.
Yeah.
I don't like, you see, I'm not describing, it's not like it's not a state. I'm not in any kind of a state here.
Yeah.
It's indescribable. It's not describable. And it's completely ordinary. So there's just this character, Kenneth, and he could say this about this and this, whatever. And it's fine, but it's still just, it's just a story. Doesn't matter. And I have no idea. I have no idea what's going to happen. But like the difference would be me feeling I have an opinion. When you're an individual, you have opinions on things that are really happening, and your opinion on them being right or wrong or the way they are, it kind of forms part of your identity. And that's what we see then in the world, is people who have huge identity politics and identity. It's identity. Like it's all about me. Yeah, and it's my position on Israel, Palestine. Which side are you on? And then this forms part of who I am, and we all have to, and it's all a
Does it have
story.
triggers, like something drastic happens and suddenly you're back in a separate position?
For me, is it? Or no. I mean, there's just aliveness.
Yeah.
So anything could happen in that aliveness.
Yeah.
Because it's just aliveness, but there's no body to come back into a position.
Yeah.
Or a sense of separate. A sense of separateness could appear to happen, for instance, but it wouldn't be mine.
Yeah, right. Yes.
Like people imagine, and it's totally understandable. They imagine that you're maybe in some sort of non-dual state, and you would never have this bad thing or that, or discomfort or whatever. I mean, this is about full-on aliveness. And it's the scene that there is just full-on aliveness. There's no me that's alive. And that sense of being separate so anything could appear to happen then, but it wouldn't be a problem.
Yep.
Because there's nobody that it's a problem for. So pain is more painful, and there's just whatever's appearing to happen. Thanks.
Another thing for me is sometimes the emotional part of life.
Yeah.
How is it for you?
How was it for me? The there's just emotions. There's just emotions. So there's just emotions there as well. But there might be a sense that they're your emotions. So there's just emotions. That's it. And it's same with everyone else. There's just emotions, like anger, for instance, right? But when you feel like an individual, you really feel you're angry. It's my anger. And then because you live in knowing, then why are you angry? Is it because the way your mom treated you? You know, or is it because of this or that, and you feel maybe you've got anger issues, and then you have to do some work on your anger issues, and so on. So it's endless when it's your anger, and it can't just be for the individual. It can't just be anger. Like it's just anger. It's just energy, anger. And so here, if there's anger, there's anger, and that's what's appearing to happen. And that's the way it is for everyone, actually. But there's the addition of a me, so then it feels like, well, I'm angry, or whatever emotion it is. Emotions are just energy. It's just energy. It's just another thing that appears to happen.
Just following up on this, do you talk to your partner in this way as well?
I don't have anything.
If you're in a conflict or anything like that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's just
yeah. No, I don't like getting things thrown at me generally. So if there's the partner and there's anger, then that's what's appearing to happen. Yeah. But telling it, I generally find with women, what you do with women is just tell them to calm down, and it works every time. Like a dream. So there's just aliveness, and aliveness, sometimes there's an argument or whatever, and it's just, so what? That's what's appearing to happen. But the lived sense of me having a partner that's mine, and a real thing. So you're speaking to me and I'm speaking to you, and we have, and you're treating me this way, and all of that's just gone. It's just, it's not there. So there's just whatever's appearing to happen. Because as an individual, then you will really feel that you have, instead of there being husbanding and wifing, or girlfriending and boyfriending, or girlfriending and girlfriending, or whatever other combinations, that there's actually a real you there and a real me, and we really have a real thing. We've got something, and it's a relationship. Like, where is it? Show it to me. We really do feel it's and it needs to be nurtured like a flower. You need to water it. Do you know what I mean? And that's fine. That's what it, but really there is nothing there, because it's all there is energy.
Relationships are seemingly happening.
Well, there's just whatever appears to happen. Yeah. So whatever, fathering, brothering, it just appears to happen. And it just is as it is then, but it's not a real thing. And actually, when you feel that you have a relationship with somebody, you don't see them, or from the very sense of feeling separate, you don't see people as they actually are, because you've objectivized them. They're an object, actually. So when you meet people and you feel like an individual, you're meeting an idea every time. And your idea is made up of your experiences of them, your memories of them, your concept of whether, how they fall into, are they good or bad, or are they important or not important, or whatever. And nobody ever actually sees anybody as they actually are. Just as you don't see anything else as it actually is. And that's what's dissatisfying about feeling separate, because you're in this subject-object reality, apparently. And there's something about it that just is hugely dissatisfying, and a huge sense of unworthiness in it too. For which you're continually trying to comfort yourself. because I've lost wholeness. Like the individual wouldn't think like this, but this is really what's going on. I've lost wholeness, so they're comforting themselves for having lost wholeness.
So when listening to this, I listened to this message for quite a bit already, also with Jim Newman and Tony and all these guys. And so there's always this huge sense of peace that drops in somehow, seemingly. The mind goes numb, sort of, and there's a huge sense of peace. What's seemingly happening there?
It's just what's appearing to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
So at the beginning
I
of
hear
the
a lot of
meeting,
reports on people having the same sort of thing going on whenever they listen to this.
yeah, and also people can be tortured. It's probably one or two are squirming in their seats and it'll be gone at the break.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Like it is just that is just what's happening there.
Yeah.
It might be completely different for someone. Someone might find this very confronting, or someone else might find it very boring. But that's just what's happening there, and it's all there is energy. So energetically, that's what's appearing to happen. And at the beginning of the meeting, I said that really this is about a resonance. At least I think I did. Maybe I didn't. But it's about a resonance. It's not to do with the words at all. So people can stay with the words and the questions and the answers, and that's fine. But actually the whole thing, this whole sharing is totally energetic. And it can be a resonance with it. It can just be very clear that this is it. This is everything. This is eternal, infinite, unconditional love.
Is there someone else?
No, I'm pointing to the man who brought.
Yeah. I'm interested in the nuance of how you're talking about there isn't really a process, but there does appear to be a process. Like it appears that the more I hear this message and go to these meetings, listen to like your talks on YouTube, there does appear to be a change in it's like the illusion starts to drop away a bit.
Yeah, it will feel like a process. When you feel like an individual still, it will definitely feel like a process that you could even measure. You could measure, or however many years ago I didn't hear this, then there was a sense, then the realness started to kind of follow, and then things were different and blah, blah, blah. And it could describe the process, but it'll only appear that way.
Yeah, and then you mentioned how a process can also like imply that, or no, you said a process can also, in a way, make the sense of a separation even more real. I don't know how you phrased it just now.
No, we were talking when we were speaking. The person speaking was just saying, yeah, if it's a process, then yeah, it's a totally different. It's just in that reality of separation, in which there is a separate me who can, through progressive endeavor and process, weaken the me or soften the me until the point that there's no me. Yeah. And that's obviously nonsense, total nonsense. But it's very common teaching. Like this isn't a teaching, this is just a sharing. But most teachings really go about it that way. They talk about a thing called wholeness, and then they tell you how you can get there. I mean, straight away, it's bullshit, isn't it? So if there's a thing called wholeness and you can get there, well, then it's not fucking wholeness then, is it? Because it means then there is, there's separation, and then there really is separation. It's just a story, which it's not right or wrong, but it's very popular, because it feeds that sense of being separate, that I can do something to get somewhere. So they're the popular ones. I mean, unconditional love really is very confronting. It's very uncomfortable for the individual. The individual doesn't want what they're looking for.
And it can appear as a process of illuminating the illusion. Like I remember one time in one of your recordings, I heard someone said to you that they felt like there was a me in the body. And then you asked questions like, so where exactly in the body are you then? So that's like, some people call that a form of meditation where you just really examine. So if I really look, then I see that I'm not in the body. So then the illusion of a me.
Yeah, not really. I mean, it was just something that came out of this mouth, but it's not. If that was the case, then I would do that all the time. I would say to people, well, look into trace the eye, like you'll find there's nobody there or whatever. It was just something that appeared at that point in that conversation. We're talking about the me, and that's what came out of this mouth, but it's not a process or a method or anything.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean anything. Sometimes, and very occasionally, I've said that, like, well, where are you? Like, where are you where are you? But I mean, if I felt that worked, I'd use it then. We would then have a meeting this afternoon, and this would be totally different. I would be speaking to you and getting you to do certain things like that. Well, trace the eye thought or all of this, but it's all just.
Yeah, I'm just noticing how I'm thinking about how people in this room perceive me and kind of worried that I might be perceived in a suboptimal way.
Are you? I'll do a little survey at the tea. I'll put in a good word for you.
Yeah, thank you.
And maybe you might win them over. Win them back over.
Yeah. Maybe if
we were all talking about you before you came as well, actually. Yeah, I mean, that's there really is a sense that as an individual, there's other people and they're thinking about me.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. And then we're worried about what they're thinking. I mean, what a joke.
Yeah.
That's the big joke. There is no you. Anyway, everyone's thinking about themselves. 99.99999% of the time.
Yeah.
That makes it difficult because then when you realize that you're redundant, then there's suddenly.
Oh yeah.
Crisis.
Oh, totally. Like, I mean, this whole afternoon is about loss. It's about loss. What's yearned for when you feel like an individual is loss, not gain. the individual, there's a real sense as an individual, you're trying to get something that will plug this sense of unworthiness, that will make you feel whole. And actually what's yearned for is a loss, and the loss is the sense of you. So for the individual, it's terrible. You're losing everything. It's complete loss. You don't have anything. You don't have relationships. You don't know anything. All of your belief system and your concept of the world and all of that, the way you were, oh, I was liberal, I was conservative, I was into human rights, I was this, it just collapses. It's just all a story. Total and utter loss. And then there's nothing, and nothing is everything. Nothing is unconditional love.
That's pretty wrong. Huh? That's why unconditional love sounds lovely.
Oh yeah, I'm aware that unconditional love sounds
Feels
like
much more raw than.
well,
sense of love,
it's completely raw. It's a killer. Unconditional love is a killer. It's not the nice, cozy, fluffy, lovely thing you think it is. Yeah, that love, the way we think of love is like just meeting someone's needs or whatever. Yeah, unconditional love is pain, discomfort, anger. It's everything. And that's what can be seen at any time. This can be seen at any time. There's just what's appearing to happen. And whatever is appearing to happen is it, because it's all aliveness. Whereas there's a half alive sense as an individual of pulling in one thing and pushing away another. I want the comfort, I want the joy, I want the pleasure. I don't want confusion, I don't want pain, that's not it. So you're kind of continually, well, this isn't it, and this is. And that just plays out until it as it does, until you die.
Until it doesn't, yeah.
Until it doesn't, yeah, until you die, yeah. Apparently die. And you'll either apparently physically die, or you'll die before you die. It doesn't matter. I usually save the good news till Sunday about dying and stuff like that. But you got it out there early. And as an individual, we're terrified of dying. And we're terrified because we're terrified of not being. We're terrified of our own absence. And actually what we're yearning for is our own absence. So it's a bit of a paradox. Small bit of a paradox.
Create this world, I think of assumptions, constantly the assumption of how your world is and this and that. I assume that you are there. I assume that there's a world out there. I can go home and to my dog and my partner.
Yeah.
That makes it kind of safe. And when that's not there anymore, then it's a whole unsafe place.
Oh yeah, like the individual is living in a loop of their own, and in a bubble of me. Yeah. And that bubble, I describe it as like a closed loop of knowing. And it's in that knowing that you keep yourself safe from a world that's outside of you. Yeah. And actually, there is no world outside of you, and there's no you to keep safe. And that seems to work, though. It seems to keep you protected and safe in that knowing. And unknowing is terrifying, absolutely terrifying. But actually, unknowing is the full-on aliveness that's yearned for, actually. I don't know anything. I actually know nothing at all. And if I was speaking to you from a position of knowing, this whole meeting would be different completely, because I'd be speaking to you, sharing what I know to you. And then energetically, it'd be totally different. Sharing a clear message is from nothing, just from nothing. And that's all there is, actually. That's all we all are, is nothing as bodies. But then we have this addition of knowing. We stay in knowing, and we stay in this. Oh, dun. But we feel half alive with it. Yeah. That's the problem. Yeah. And we yearn for, like, I want to be fully alive. You know. And we think, oh, what can I do to be fully alive? And actually, the fully aliveness you're looking for is to not actually be a you who's alive. and then there's just aliveness. And it's very obvious that's all there is anyway. It's just so ordinary. What's yearned for, like, what's yearned for is incredibly ordinary and obvious, because it's, you are already that. It's just whatever's appearing. Sounds, rain, the wind, shuffling the leaves, a thought, a sensation in the body. That's all it is. But when you feel like a separate individual, then there's a continual rejection of that in favor of what could be. And then I can work towards it.
It's never good enough. We always we want sunshine now, and we want a cozy fire, or we want.
Yeah. It always tends to be around the next corner, and we can arrive, can feel like we arrive for a little while, 10 minutes or 5 minutes or 2 minutes or a day. Then oh look, there's another corner. You know, and it's around, it's that sense of, it's not, this isn't, meh. Like for the individual, it's like, meh, it's okay, like. It's incredible that what we're yearning for appears to hide by simply just being everything. It's total genius. It's incredible. And we're lost looking for it, just in a sense, the sense of me. But it's just simply, hello, I'm here. Like everything is just that.
If I am everything, there can be also learning. I mean,
oh, anything could appear to happen.
Yeah. So I mean, what's the difference?
Well, the difference is indescribable. I can't describe the difference. Nobody has ever been able to describe the difference between feeling like an individual and not feeling like an individual. Nobody has been able to describe it. All I can say, I'm not even doing anything, but there's just pointing towards it. That's all that can be done. And words point towards it, the ordinariness of it.
Yes, still feeling, still yearning, pain, all those things, but not a person. So perhaps I want to have.
Well, no, you can't.
Perhaps you are getting rid more quick of those feelings. I want to. Why should I?
Oh, why should you do all the things that I've been telling you to do since we started the meeting? And all that big long list of methods that I gave you. I agree with you. Fuck it, don't bother.
I'm still staying.
I know. It's indescribable, because it's the going from the sense that I'm here sitting on a seat and I'm talking to you, and there's whatever amount of people, and I'm speaking to you, and I have a life, to there's just sitting on the chair and there's just aliveness, bodying. And actually the incredible thing is it's the same. This is the incredible thing that people talk about, is that it's the same as when I felt an individual, but it's completely different also. It's the exact same, because it's just this, but that sense of there being me that speaks and me just isn't there. And this is everything, not in a conceptual way, but this is unconditional love. And then it's full on aliveness. See, it's complete, total, full on aliveness then for nobody. But anything I'm saying can't be imagined, because if the person's imagining what I just said there, has an idea of what I said, then that's just an idea. And generally the individual has a concept of it that it's some like amazing kind of state, really. I mean, what else could they imagine? Because they live in states and experiences and stuff. So it's just amazing state where everyone loves me. Everyone talks about me in a good way. You know, they just want to be around me. They just bask off my energy. Nothing bothers me really. You know, it's just floating through life. And whatever, you know, some idea of wholeness. And it's ridiculous. It's not like that at all. And that's so boring, actually, to when it's seen, actually, but it can't be imagined. Of course it can't be imagined.
A few times a week, I go to a big library. I've been reading books, craving knowledge for 40 years plus, scientific, anything. But now it doesn't really mean, it doesn't mean anything at all. It's so
Nothing.
crazy that standing there and knowing I've been at the same place, wanting to buy everything. So any kind of topic, I scan these libraries and there's nothing left.
Yeah.
But then again, if I read one word in a book, it comes to life. So it's really, what it actually is ink on paper. So it's
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah.
Word is dead. There's no reality in that, but something happens here.
Yes, yeah,
And
yeah.
I imagine so.
Yeah.
And the process, it's not really a process, but
Yeah.
the story coming to life is seen.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And it's just energy, yeah.
Yeah.
So they could be reading a book on some topic and it's just energy of some sort of knowing about that, whatever, but it doesn't require anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still shocking. I've had it for about 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's nowhere to get to with anything. There's nothing is knowable. So
yeah,
like
if it's practical, that's a different thing.
Or it's just, yeah, there might be there may be an interest in it, and there may not be an interest in it, but there's nowhere to get to with it.
Yeah, right.
That's how I would describe it.
Yeah.
And it's not that you know something the way I describe it also is, I don't feel I know something that's true really,
yeah,
that other people don't know. That's also a story.
Yeah.
But it's obvious, like when we're appearing to live in a world where we're bombarded with information. So it can be fun to see that most of it's bullshit. And I think a lot of people are seeing that now. It's an information war. Like we've been told, you are being mined for your content, for your information. And it's just, that's the world we're appearing to, and there's a battle over what's disinformation and true information and so on. And this is what's appearing to happen.
It's all relative to a context, like assumptions.
Yeah,
like
totally. And it really, like, if to be really simplistic about it, it's coming from, there is no higher authority, right? There's only a higher authority when you feel like an individual.
Yeah.
But in the story, there's a higher authority, and that higher authority is going to mind you.
Right.
It's going to look after you. And if you just be a good boy or a good girl and take this and take that, then you'll be safe. And because we feel that there is a higher authority, we want to be safe. So there's this whole safetyism, rise in safetyism, and a sense of really what you're doing is you're keeping yourself safe in your bubble. And so that's, you're totally being bombarded with information. And the way I would describe it lately is that I feel there's a lot of people have a sense now of the emptiness of the narrative, say.
Yeah.
Like the narrative is a word we've heard a lot over the narrative. And for me, it's like, it's in the word. It's a narrative.
Yeah.
It's actually a story,
yeah,
but you feel it's real because you're living in the real.
Yeah.
So then it's the option, instead of thinking, well, this side are all wrong and it's this people that are all, you know, we're living in a very polarized, it's very polarized. It's very dichotomous. You're either with us or you're against us.
Yeah.
And the more the individual appears to, and this story appears, the more polarized it appears to get. And what's being shared here then is that it's actually, it's all a story. It's all a play of light. There's no you there. There's no higher authority. There's just whatever's appearing to happen. And then the adventure. That's the adventure then. The just in loveness. This is about an in loveness for nobody in what's appearing to happen. Totally in loveness with leaves shaken on a tree. Because there's meets everything. Will we have a cup of tea then, Eric?